In this episode of What Can We Learn, we're going to check out Undertale, a game that has been touted by many as their 2015 Indie Game of the Year. And for me personally, I found this game funny as hell. It was perfectly paced, it was super engaging, awesome story, had a couple of twists and really tight game moments that, I'm going to admit, made me squeal with joy. That's right, I'm man enough to admit that. They were just awesome. And I'm not going to give you any spoilers at the moment, but there was a certain final boss battle change-up which blew my mind. If you haven't checked it out, if you haven't played the game the whole way through, you totally should. There's so much that you can learn as a game designer, as a game developer from this game. So let's jump into it. I'm going to talk about 5 things that I think Undertale did spectacularly well that you should study and check out if you want to learn and if you want to get better yourself at making games. Number 1, the first thing that it did super well is how to do funny. How to do funny. And some of my favourite moments include just the way that you talk and engage with the enemies during combat, and seeing their weird-ass reactions to what you can do. So, partially, we can learn that the creator has a sense of humour. Of course, you need to have a sense of humour yourself to make funny. But also, I get the feeling that he had a, if it feels good, just say it, just do it approach. It's kind of like the way Nintendo is cool having like a weird turtle in a cloud, dangling signs at the end of a fishing pole during a kart racing game. Does it make sense? Who cares? That's the approach. So also, go check out the Undertale Kickstarter video for an absolutely top-notch lesson on making a funny yet super informative video. The video mixes actual gameplay and story footage with custom writing aimed at the Kickstarter audience itself. The fact that the first thing you see is a dog that could totally be a character from the game, pretending to be the game's creator, introducing the game, I found really brilliant, super engaging, and the Kickstarter itself did very well. I think, if I remember the numbers, he was asking for 5,000, he got 50,000, because it connected with people. And so, after you finish watching this video, go check out the Undertale Kickstarter page, but remember, after this video, don't leave me hanging here, okay? Because point number 2, the second thing we can learn is single point of innovation. What I mean by that is to pick one important area of the game and innovate and on that area, and not to try to reinvent everything about a genre, everything about a game. Just pick one thing and say, this is going to be the thing that I do something nifty with in my game. Because you know what? Players don't need 1,000 new things. To the contrary, they need predictability. They want to know, if I'm playing an RPG, which is what Undertale is, that there's some things about an RPG that I love, that I'm here for. In Undertale, the key point of innovation was the combat mechanic, and was within the combat mechanic. So as we all know, turn-based RPGs pit the player's character, or the player's party of characters, if they have more than one, against the enemy, with each side taking in turns to pick like an attack or a spell, with the goal being to destroy the other side. That's an RPG. And what I love about Undertale is that the combat is so much more than just set and forget. The attacking is pretty straightforward. It's just a simple bullseye type quick time mechanic that makes me feel that I've got some control over it. I have to pay attention and hit it spot on, and I get a better attack. But it's the defensive mechanic, which is something else entirely. The player controls their heart, or it symbolizes their health, and has to avoid the enemy's attacks, which are in a bullet hell style of gameplay. So each enemy has a different way of attacking, which means that every single combat feels different. The gameplay shifts combat, I believe, from feeling like a dice roll grind fest, which is what a lot of RPGs end up feeling like, to feeling like an arcade game which rewards skill and concentration. So we can learn from it 2 things, I think, from this mechanic. The first, as I've mentioned, is that you only need to innovate on one key mechanic. The second is that you don't need to completely reinvent the wheel, you just need to use a different wheel to the one the player is expecting. So bullet hell is hardly a new concept, right? There's entire genres which are bullet hell, the shoot 'em up genres. It's not a new concept, you've played these games a lot. But putting that as a player-controlled defensive mechanic during an RPG turn-based combat, I think is a really fresh approach. So we can learn from that freshness. Okay, the third thing to learn from Undertale is that your art style does not need to be complicated. Less is more. Don't overthink it. KISS, which stands for Keep It Simple. KISS, Keep It Simple. It's actually Keep It Simple Stupid if you want to... Haha, that's what the other S is. Which, you know what, now I come to think about it, some of the art style does look like Kiss the Band, KISS. Oh my god, that is so meta. Anyway, that wasn't the point of this point. The point is, in many ways, the retro art style in Undertale, I think, borders on minimalist. There's an absence of textures, there isn't a lot of detail, sometimes it's very monochromatic, and through the minimalism, a very remarkable, unique look is created for the game. But it still leaves us feeling very old school, RPG-ish, retro throwback about it. Plus, I think there's a perfect relationship between the silliness of the writing and the look of the characters. It's silly, it's funny, and it's fun. So the learning here is more is not necessarily better. If you're a crappy artist, then play to it. Just be the crappy artist. Make art that's very minimalist, that's just specifics to the point. Don't overcomplicate your art style. Okay, the fourth thing we can learn from Undertale is a continuation of that previous point I was just making, which is consistency across your elements. So I was talking about the look, I was talking about the characters, I was talking about the writing, and if you have a game that has that silly but smart writing and that minimalist but remarkable art style, then you absolutely, I hope you're listening to me, game developers, game designers, game creators out there, you absolutely have to match that same vibe and tone with every other detail in the game. For example, the game's sound effects. The best illustration for me that Undertale nails this relationship is the dialogue sound effects. It's quirky, it's simple, it's a bit silly, and it's most certainly minimalist. Let's have a quick listen. Okay, so for the sound effects in your own game, you could easily get carried away with lots of blips and plops, and even do some dialogue recording, put a lot of effort in there, or you could just not do anything. It's like, oh, I just had nothing going on there. But only do those things, like lots of detail or nothing at all, or silence or whatever, if it matches the overall vibe of your game. The point here is have your game consistent. When you go through Undertale, every part of this game feels like it belongs in the same place. Right, and the final thing I want to point out today that we can learn from Undertale is that the really neat way they offer multiple playthroughs for the player. Multiple playthroughs. And a lot of people talk about this. I've talked to a lot of developers, have these branching storylines, and you can do this, and different endings. I think a lot of the time we overcomplicate it, we do too many. Undertale's cool. It gives you choice. But there are a couple of overall playstyle choices. For example, whether you kill all the monsters or spare all the monsters, which will shape the storyline, will shape the interactions, and give you different key moments in the game. And it's that duality, it's that choice, it's that replayability that I think makes the game, gives that something extra special. The choices aren't really in your face. It's not like, would you like to be good or evil? It's not in your face, but it rewards the players who are paying attention, who read up about the game, who talk to other people about the game, and importantly, this is important, learn from this, is it gives YouTube Let's Players the ammunition they need to make their playthroughs slightly different to other people's playthroughs. That's really important. And there's other games and other videos that I'm going to talk about that do it in more depth. I like FTL. FTL is an excellent example of multiple ways of playing through that gives YouTubers a lot of ammunition. But even in an RPG, we can do it, as Undertale has, without having to add a ton of scope to your game. And, it goes without saying that more Let's Play video reviews mean more downloads, which means more cashola in the bank, which is a handy thing to have when it comes to, I don't know, paying the rent or maybe starting working on your sequel or buying your Ferrari. Up to you. Cool, so that's the 5 points that I wanted to go through for Undertale. That's what we can learn in this What Can We Learn? Please be sure to click on one of the thumbnails to watch some of my other stuff. Check out my website. If you like this video, consider throwing me a thumbs up so I know to do more. And then, you know what, subscribe so you actually get to see those new ones. And then please write a comment about how cool you think Game of Thrones is, and then have a public debate about whether you think Tyrion is a Targaryen or not, and then flame the other guy for liking Jon Snow so much, and then write Hodor 3 times. Hang on, wait a minute, got sidetracked, different conversation. Okay, cool. You know what, you guys, thanks for watching. Good luck in your quest of getting paid to make games for a living, and I'll talk to you again real soon.